Well, I'm sure to have some people disagree with me, but I will say this is not the cheapest, it's just the best. Today, more talk about the Surefire RC3 suppressor. I'll tell a little bit of a story. So, getting to a point in training a year or something ago or two ago, where it made sense to have suppressors, going to places it may be required. I just want to talk intelligently about him. So it made sense. Already doing carbine training and stuff, I need to get a suppressor. Did some research, saw what people are using. The majority of my clients are going to be using Surefire products. If it's a military or law enforcement organization, especially military, it's going to be Surefire stuff. So look, it's like there's an RC2, there's an RC3. The 3 is the new one. That's the one I want, obviously. Give me the newest one. And so I got an RC3. I trained with it for a while. Really liked it. And probably didn't have enough of a frame of reference for how much I liked it, at least initially. Because I'd used suppressors on other people's guns, but fire 10 rounds, like blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Here you go. Yeah. Hell yeah, brother. Cool. But I'd already trained with this and shot thousands of rounds through this when I started hanging out with some of my friends that had other brands of suppressors. I remember my friend, well, a couple friends, Nick Young and Jason Bradley both, we go to the range, like, hey, this is my quietest or my go-to suppressor. And I shot, especially I remember Nick Young's gun, within 10 rounds of just doing doubles, like, bop, let the gun quiet down, bop, quiet down, bop, and then do, I think, maybe one bill drill or something like that, so 6 rapid-fire shots. I just applied the thumb safety, gave it back, like, this thing sucks. I don't like this. And I kind of said it without really thinking. I was like, this is his kind of go-to can. I just told him it sucks, and I wasn't trying to be unkind. But I'd got so spoiled with flow-through cans that anything non-flow-through, I do not like. So what happens is, even with the slotted style charging handles that has a vent in it, unburnt gas, powder, all that stuff coming back, a definite need for wearing safety glasses because it have little specks of carbon or whatever on my glasses or cheeks, whether it being left-handed or right-handed, it doesn't matter. Both sides get it. I understand that you can tune the gun to be a specific spring, buffer, and charging handle and all this combination to get rid of that with some guns. But I'm talking about you just buy a rifle, you attach the suppressor, you go out and shoot it, and it just doesn't have any of that stuff. And the RC3, with putting it on half a dozen different rifles I own, no issues, never had an issue once as far as gas or anything like that. I went to the range with my friend. Well, another fun story. My friend Jeff, he was interested in getting a suppressor, doesn't really know the type. He was considering just direct threads. I think, no, you should get something with an adapter, a muzzle device going to attach to. I'll bring mine just so you could try it. Another friend had an RC2. Jeff shoots mine, a magazine worth, something like that. Okay, cool, this isn't so bad. He shoots the RC2 and he started choking and coughing. It was really funny. Oh, oh, this sucks, whatever. And this was unscripted. I just videoed it because I was just curious to see what he would say. And quickly, right off the bat, somebody that, I don't know if that was his first time using a suppressor, but very few times, he immediately was, yeah, non-flow through, I don't want that. Even between an RC2 and an RC3, the RC2 is probably $600 cheaper, something like that. The RC3, even though, like I said, it's not the cheapest, it's just the best, that doesn't have any of those issues. So that was my early experience. I was like, hey, aren't they all like this? And then I quickly realized they are not all like this. I'll talk more about the RC3 specifically, but the only other products I've found that I think comes close as of right now that I've tried, the Hux stuff, Huxworks, is pretty good. It just doesn't have the life expectancy that the RC3 does. I'm told several people that are high round count users that they commonly get plugged, and you'll know when the vents, the flow through mechanism in the can gets plugged, and I think you soak it in some kind of a solvent or something to absorb that or clean those out. The RC3 does not do that. It's like once a year you can soak it in, it's like CLR or something. There's directions from Surefire specifically how to do that. But otherwise, you just shoot it and it doesn't clog or need any kind of constant soaking or maintenance. So, but anyway, the Hux stuff is cheaper. And I know departments get a deal on it. So I encounter some people that use those for work. But the Hux stuff doesn't at least give you the spit back stuff. And the other one that I do like, I think it's Silencer Co. that makes it. It's Velos? His name, I think it's Velos. That one's okay also. No issues with that. I don't like the mounting system as much, but that suppressor and using it, it was fine also. That was pleasurable to shoot as the guy behind the trigger, not getting hit with gas or unburnt powder, any of that kind of junk. So the gist of what's going on, I'm not going to pretend to be that smart or an engineer about this stuff. With a lot of suppressors, the gas comes back through the action, and that's what the stuff's hitting you in the face. It also dries out the action a lot. So, well, I'll keep putting them on blast. I was at Ben's house recently and trying to be a nice friend for a change. I was cleaning some of his carbines that I thought needed attention. One of which he'd shot with the RC2 so much it was seized on. The gun was very dry. So just in pulling back the charging handle, if I'd pull the handle back and let it go, it'd kind of stall partway forward before it'd go the rest of the way forward. The action had dried out so much from shooting suppressed that he flicked the safety on when he was done, like after the last round, but the safety was stuck being applied, and I had to pull off the grip and add some oil and stuff to get that unstuck, just because of all the inside of the action is just caked in stuff from all that unburnt powder and stuff cycling through the action. Again, this with some maintenance, this issue could be solved, but some people don't maintain their guns a lot or wait until it becomes an issue. So if you're one of those people, that becomes an issue quicker. The RC3 doesn't do that because it's got vents in the front. The flow-through stuff means the majority of the junk goes out the muzzle end, not back into your action. I think that makes the suppressor end up being a tick louder. Then I know there are the back pressure cans I've tried that are a little bit quieter. But if I'm going to shoot a 5.56 can, I'm going to have hearing protection anyway. Talking to, getting the privilege to interact with some of the people at the highest level of the U.S. military, they're going to have hearing protection anyway, even going out for actual work with a suppressed rifle. So it's not like anyone's shooting a 5.56 without ear pro on at all anyway. So it's just taking the edge off, the report, all that kind of stuff. But so looking at a suppressor, I don't necessarily need one that's so quiet you never have to wear hearing protection. I want to measure the decibels between it to see which one's the quietest. That doesn't really factor for me. So I like to flow through just because the junk all goes out the muzzle end and it doesn't make the gun all full of unburnt powder or dry it out so fast that I have to keep constantly oiling the bolt carrier group to avoid issues or needing one of the special gas buster charging handles with the slots in and stuff. On my guns, I just use an H2 buffer, but I've got mid-length gas guns. I know depending on which system you have, sometimes people want the H3, which somebody in the comments would be better than me, but it slows down the buffer or changes the timing of it for a suppressor, might be needed for some guns. I just put H2s in all mine, and I haven't had an issue. It's just across the board what I use. There's one other benefit to this suppressor, is it does delete recoil. First off, you're hanging, I should have looked up the weight, but whatever it is, a weight off the end of your gun. So of course, that's going to help with recoil. And then this can, at least specifically, does really tame the gun. It shoots soft. I think that's part of the flow-through technology because I've tried non-flow-through cans that make the gun recoil more or recoil weird. For example, one of Jason's cans that I did not like, it recoiled violently and it almost felt like the gun was moving forward away from me. Maybe it was just my perception, but it changed the recoil impulse a lot. The RC3 makes it just a slow push, so it is in a sense a recoil delete also. The gun shoots noticeably softer. As far as adapter devices or muzzle devices, some people hate the Surefire system. I like it a lot for a couple reasons. So the way this one works, with whatever device you want, it's got, try to get a good angle, the bottom side of it, it's got this little notch, and then in that notch is what the suppressor is going to attach to. The suppressor has this little button on the side of this little gate, and when you spin it, it's just going to get tighter. Push in on the little gate. It's going to open it just by spinning it. So all I do is open this thing all the way. Hopefully you'll be able to hear the sound, but all I'm going to do is this pin right here to line up with that pin on the back of the device. See if I can do this facing the camera. I'm going to intentionally drop it down where it's not centered. And if you just spin it, you'll just see it. It'll just drop in place. Right on cue. I didn't even have to use any, like there's no muscle involved. All I did was just spin it. Just drops on. Once it drops on, push it on the little gate, and then just spin it closed. Just hand tighten it, and that's it. Ready to shred. Oh, in case people are curious, this has a T-Rex arms light bar, which moves the light further forward. That way, you don't get a lot of suppressor shadow. If you're going to shoot, this gun gets shot suppressed a lot. The light, of course, a Surefire Turbo, because that's also the best one, honestly. So anyway, that moves the light farther forward to the can and gets rid of suppressor shadow. So some complaints on the mounting system that I've seen, people say they get seized or stuck. If you leave this thing on for 2,000 rounds or on any gun, it's going to get stuck. Normally after each range session, I just pull the suppressor off. One, because unfortunately the guns do get hotter when you're shooting them suppressed. So if the gun's getting super hot, I'll have a glove with me and I'll just take off the suppressor if I can get it off, and then just set the suppressor next to the gun with the bolt locked open just to help it cool faster. Otherwise, leaving the can on the gun, you'll get it hot enough. You wouldn't want to put it away in a Pelican style case with foam because it will melt the foam. Ask me how I know that, but then once you get foam melted to this, it's a little bit of a pain to get off of the plastic. So anyway, it's I try not to put them away when they're super hot. If so, you could either wrap it in a towel, or my fiance got, it's like a pouch that you slide these in, and it's made to like not get the suppressor melted to it, and then you can just put it in a range bag or in your trunk or whatever. So, because anyway, if you're going to shoot carbine, I normally shoot it earlier in the range session just because it gives it more time to cool down. But anyway, then after you get home, if you want, you could just, whatever gun oil you like, every once in a while, just a quick pass of gun oil on the muzzle device, the suppressor adapter, wipe it off. So it's all of like 10 seconds after each range session, and that keeps it in a place where the suppressor will just drop on without any drama. Well, I'm putting people on blast. My friend Nick Young, we was commenting, shooting with him, had this with me, and he mentioned how he has an RC2 and it's always getting stuck and it's a total pain. Well, I looked at it and the muzzle device is all green with carbon, I think, like turquoise and green. The muzzle device looks nasty, so all I did was just go out in his driveway, hose off the muzzle device a bit, use a wire brush, just scrape on it a little bit to get it back down to metal, spray a little bit of the same kind of stuff, like degreaser inside the suppressor, wipe it out, hit it with some compressed air and air compressor when you get done. That was it. So if you keep up on it, I mean, I've got thousands of rounds through this thing, no issues, but just every once in a while, a little bit of gun oil on the muzzle device, and that keeps it in a place where you just drop it right on and it'll just fall in place, and you're not doing any of the drama where you're like trying to find the spot or anything like that. Like I said, you can see I just spin it and it just like clicks in place. No big deal. So anyway, in closing, like I said, this is not the cheapest. In my opinion, it's just the best. They're also rated to, I'll give a number and then I'll get a message saying it's not right, but it's something like 100,000 rounds or something. Like they're meant to go a long time. I've got this, I try not to overheat it, but it has got quite hot several times, as you could with any suppressor. But for me, the flow through stuff is the magic, just because the shooter experience, you don't get the unburnt powder and specks of stuff coming back at your face and gas. I'm not saying you could shoot without, or I would recommend shooting without eye protection, but you'd probably safe shooting this one, even suppressed, just because I never have stuff come out the back of the gun and hit me, and I cannot say the same with any other suppressor brand I've tried. At some point, everything else comes back. So, like I said, it's not the cheapest. Just in my opinion, the Surefire RC3 is the best. If you're triggered or want to tell me why your suppressor is better, feel free to drop it below in the comments, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff that I'm supposed to be telling people to do. But if you don't want to do it, that's fine. It's just my 2 cents on suppressors, and I'm sure I'll continue to learn more along the way, but with a couple years of using them, this is my clear favorite.